So really look, if you're feeling burnt out right now, look at your life. Are you taking care of yourself? Was like really struggling to get myself out of bed to get to work in the morning. No matter how stuck you feel, you can change it. You have options. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Adrienne. If you're not new here, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. As you can tell, there's something a little bit different about me. My hair is done, I got it done today, and I feel so good, feel so much better. I am naturally brunette, and I've been blonde since like the end of 2019, and for those of you who have dyed your hair before, it's just so much maintenance, and then going from brunette to blonde, my hair was getting so damaged, like I was just ready to change it and go back to brunette, and I feel so much better. I feel so good, ready to go. Anyways, before we jump into the video today, I just wanted to, I haven't mentioned it for a few videos, but if you are interested in checking out my Instagram, I would love for you to go follow me over there. We can connect, be friends on there as well. I will leave, it's in the description box, but I'll also just insert here a little bit of like what it looks like. I am kind of in the process, just like with my YouTube channel, of transforming, evolving, changing my feed and the things I talk about. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I wanted to invite you over there as well. But let's just go ahead and hop into the video today. So for today's video, I want to talk to you about burnout. Pretty hot topic right now, no pun intended. Burn, hot. Anyways, and obviously my experience is burnout as a healthcare worker, so there will be some specificity surrounding that. However, this video in general is about burnout, and so no matter what your career is, I feel like this topic will resonate for you and can resonate for you. So I wanted to say that, but let's hop into it. So first of all, what is burnout and what causes it? So burnout is like a super hot topic right now, but do we really know what it is? I went ahead and Googled the definition. However, I know that I've been through it. I am recovering from it, mostly recovered from it, but still kind of recovering from it. But I didn't know like the exact definition. So I wanted to look that up for you. So when you just Google burnout definition, it says, state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. I think the key here that throws a lot of people off is prolonged stress. And I'm gonna get into this more as I cover like different topics in this video, but I want you to keep that in mind that the definition says prolonged, but I don't necessarily think that that's how we all experience it, or I don't think the prolonged stress is necessary. The other definition that I've heard personally, and not even definition, but what causes it, what I've heard personally that really resonated with me, is when you're overworked and you're undervalued. Whether that's you're being underpaid, you're not being recognized by your boss, your manager, whoever, for the work that you're doing, and then it just keeps kind of stacking up. I feel like a lot of us are going through this right now, and it makes sense to me that burnout is becoming a bigger topic, that more people are talking about it. Because as we know, the unemployment rates are really high. So not only are places understaffed, but then the staff that they do have, they're having to give them more tasks, more responsibilities, and yet they don't have the pay to compensate them for that extra pay, or for the extra tasks and the extra responsibilities. It's just a vicious cycle that's going on right now, and this doesn't just pertain to healthcare, but this is something that is going on in healthcare right now too. So I wanted to start with that, kind of what it is and what causes it. And even though I said the definition, I feel like most of us know what burnout is. And I feel like so many of us are experiencing it currently or have experienced it in the past. The other thing I wanted to say with this and dive into this really quickly is when I first learned about burnout, and this goes back to that first definition I just told you to remember, I thought it had to be, the only people who could feel burnt out were the people who have been in their careers for a really, really long time. I felt as if you've only been in your career or your specific job for a few months or even a year or a small or shorter time frame in the grand scheme of things, then you shouldn't feel burnt out. That it wasn't burnout if you were feeling that exhaustion, it must be something else. I was really wrong though. And I think that is why that definition isn't necessarily all encompassing, because I think it is caused by excessive stress, but I think as individuals, we all process stress differently. We all handle it differently. And so while two people could be in the same job under the same stress, one person might experience burnout after only 6 months, while one person may feel it after 5 years. And it just is dependent on that person, their mental health at baseline. I mean, there's just so many factors that go into it. And so that was a misconception I had. And then I want you to also know that you don't have to have been in your career or your specific job for years and years and years to feel burnt out. You can feel it after a few months, and you may not feel it after a few months. It may take you years, but everybody is different and anybody can experience burnout. I also, with this, anybody can feel it. And no matter how long you've been in your career, it also doesn't matter what career you're in. You can feel it no matter what career you're in. And this is kind of why I want to say this about healthcare really quickly, because, and I'm going to go into a little bit more about the shame and the guilt I felt around feeling burnt out in healthcare. But I think there's this other misconception that like healthcare, teaching, I'm trying to think of the jobs where like you are expected to like give your all to other people versus like business and things like that, where yes, you're helping other people. I think every career serves others. There are ones that are seen as, you know, like you are just supposed to be selfless all the time. And I think healthcare is one of those. And so it's, I think, a career where going into it, there's this expectation that you shouldn't feel burnt out, that you should just keep going, give your whole life to other people, to serving others. And another misconception, healthcare workers can feel burnt out just as much as other people. Well, especially right now with everything going on, obviously, in the world. But yeah, so again, burnout can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter how long you've been working. If you've got that stress, you're overworked, you're undervalued, and you've got other things going on in your life, it depends on the individual. And burnout's not limited to a specific career. It can happen in any career. Okay, so next I want to talk to you a little bit about my experience with burnout and the symptoms, I will say, that I experienced that let me know that I was going through burnout. Looking back, I realized that I started to experience burnout in PA school. And at the time I didn't know. I thought I was just really stressed. I thought that I was tired. I thought it was normal. But looking back, it wasn't. I was burnt out. But I think it was normal because so many of us were burnt out, like so many of us PA students, and yet we just didn't realize it. So think about it. I was in my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree, for 4 years, taking really high-level science courses, working 2 jobs a lot of the time, and telling myself at the time that if I didn't get good enough grades, that I wouldn't get into PA school. So adding that extra stress to myself. Then finally get into PA school, and I've never experienced such a like rigorous course load where I was studying all the time. And I don't mean, if any PA students are watching this, it's nothing to be afraid of. I just think I should have taken better care of myself. I should have found a better balance at the time so that I would have avoided burnout, but I didn't. I was like, I just didn't balance it well. And so I became, like, my burnout really started happening in PA school. Then obviously I graduated, I went straight into working a job, and I never was able to recover from it because we went into a global panty. And if you've not seen my previous videos, I will refer to what's going on in the world as a panty, just because I don't want to be censored by YouTube. So I want to say that. But what I started to experience was just, like the definition says, exhaustion. But to another level. Like, I started to realize something was wrong when I couldn't get myself to get out of bed in the morning, even if I had had 10 hours of sleep. I just was constantly feeling like I needed to catch up on sleep, even though I wasn't behind. I was always napping when I could. And the other big thing for me was I stopped enjoying the things that I used to enjoy. Like, I just didn't want to do them anymore. I didn't want to go to the gym. I stopped working out. I was very inconsistent. I stopped taking care of myself in terms of what I ate. I wasn't as into doing like social plans or going out and being social because I was just so tired all the time. And I started finding that I was also becoming really anxious. And so all in all, I started to develop a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression. And I didn't know what was causing it. There were other things going on in my life at the time. However, it just seemed to be very consistent throughout my educational career and as I became a PA. And like I said in my previous video about how I left my job, I felt like my whole life was leading up to that moment, and I became a PA. I was working what I would have considered my dream job at the time, and I wasn't happy. Like, I was not happy no matter what I did. And so those, to me, now looking back, were kind of like my symptoms of being burnt out. The other big thing for me was I started to get sick all the time. And yes, when you start working in healthcare and I was in family medicine, I was seeing kids all the time. Like, I was exposed to a lot more germs than the average person. However, I also was in school, and I was before then. And now, as I was like getting deeper and deeper into my burnout, I started to get sick more often, like back to back to back to back sick. And to me, that was just a sign that when your body is under higher stress, your immune system is worse off. And that's why I was getting sick, was I was just constantly stressed, constantly anxious, and depressed. So when it got to the point where I was like really struggling to get myself out of bed to get to work in the morning, I had lost interest in a lot of the things I was normally very interested in life. I realized that something needed to change. And that's kind of where my burnout recovery story began, but those were the things that I went through. Now, I just want to say that that's my experience. Everybody experiences burnout differently, and everybody experiences different symptoms. So while I may have experienced some anxiety, some people may not at all. Some people just may have that like overwhelming exhaustion or disinterest in normal activities that they love. It's different for everybody, but it's just to be aware of, if you are at a different baseline than normal for yourself, really start to evaluate maybe why that's going on for you. Next, I want to get into the guilt and the shame that I felt around feeling burnt out. And I think I can't speak for every career in this, because obviously I don't know. However, I think this is a very prominent thing within healthcare, is to feel this guilt and this shame around feeling burnt out. And let me explain. I kind of did in the beginning, but let me explain further. We, as healthcare providers, workers, enter the healthcare field with this idea to devote our lives to helping others. And a lot of careers are like that, I get that. Again, I'm speaking just about healthcare right now. And it's seen as this very selfless career. You're expected to give, put yourself kind of second on the back burner because you're taking care of other people. So when you start to feel resentful of your job, you find yourself no longer wanting to do it, you start to relate that to no longer wanting to help others. But that's not the case. The truth is, you are burnt out because you're being overworked and you're stressed, and that's okay. And there's no reason to feel guilt or shame about that. But I know I specifically felt a lot of shame about it. I also felt bad that, again, I had just entered my career and I was feeling burnt out. I felt horrible. I was like, I am supposed to be in this career for the rest of my life, or the rest of my foreseeable future, let's say. And yet I feel burnt out. How could I possibly feel burnt out less than a year into it when I'm supposed to be spending years and years and years doing this? And I questioned that. I questioned myself. I questioned, am I wrong for feeling this way? Is it something I'm doing wrong? And so I just want to say, if any of you are feeling that same way, if you're going through burnout in healthcare and you're feeling that guilt or that shame, there's nothing to be ashamed about, nothing to feel guilty about. It just happens and it creeps up on you. Like I said, looking back, it had started way before I started working, because again, many of the healthcare careers, the schooling leading up to that is so intense that it's no wonder that we get burnt out, right? So again, just no reason to feel that guilt or that shame. It has nothing to do with you. It's happening to so many people right now. So that was something I needed to tell myself. And it doesn't matter what career you're in, again, or how long you've been in it. It doesn't have anything to do with you if you're feeling it. So you just need to look forward and ask yourself, how can I take care of myself from here? How can I recover from this burnout, instead of beating yourself up for feeling it? This kind of brings me into the next thing of asking yourself, is this burnout, or am I just unhappy in my career? And again, if you've seen my I left my job story video that I made, that was something I had to ask myself, when I quit my previous job as a PA. I took those months, and again, I know not everybody has this luxury. It's something to really consider if you have the ability to do so, is to take some time away from your job and to ask yourself, is this really what I want to be doing with my life? Or am I just burnt out and I'm questioning it because I'm burnt out? I think, you know, I named one way to do it, which was taking time off to really evaluate. For me, I was able to take a step back, take a few months off and say, no, if I can make this work and I can find a job that works for me, that doesn't overwork me, that doesn't undervalue me, then I feel like I could still really love working in healthcare. And so that's exactly what I did. And those were the questions I had to ask myself, though, to figure out, is this burnout or is this just me being unhappy in my career? Okay, the other thing that I would recommend doing, and this is gonna go into the next topic here, is to optimize your health before making that decision, before saying, oh no, I just hate my career and I don't wanna be in it anymore. Optimize everything else you can around you before making that decision. And let me explain. This takes us into the next topic. So if you have burnout, now what? First of all, we need to figure out if it's burnout, like we were just talking about. But what I was just saying is optimize your health. So this is what is going to help you recover from burnout if you have to stay in the career job that you're in. But this is also going to help you evaluate if it's really burnout, if it's just the job you hate, if it's the career you don't like anymore, so on and so forth. So what I mean by optimize your health is both your mental health and your physical health and your emotional health. If we are not taking care of ourselves at the end of the day, we cannot be expected to take care of anybody else. We cannot take care of anybody else if we don't take care of ourselves. You know, the saying, you can't fill from an empty cup, that whole thing. It's so true though. So really look, if you're feeling burnt out right now, look at your life. Are you taking care of yourself? And if you're not, I would suggest that be your first step. That is something I started to do before I quit my job to see if I could get myself feeling better. So going to the gym more again, eating well, like I was starting to meal prep again. I started to be more social. I did work with a coach for a long time, all of these things. And it turns out that for me, it just wasn't getting better. And I had the ability to take the time off. And so I did, but sometimes that can be the answer. Sometimes just taking better care of yourself can be the answer. And I do want to say that when you're in burnout, and especially if you're feeling that exhaustion and maybe some of that depression that goes along with it, it can be a lot harder to take those steps to optimize your health. But you don't have to do everything at once, and you don't have to do so much. You just need to take one step. You know, like if you are going to bed really late, maybe just start to go to bed a half hour earlier. If you're not going to the gym, you're not exercising, you're not getting movement, and maybe go for a 15-minute walk. Like it doesn't need to be crazy, but start to optimize your health. And that's what I would say would be the best way to, if you can't get yourself out of that job, to recover from your burnout, is to just take the best care of yourself that you can. Because at the end of the day, like I've said over and over, you cannot take care of anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. And how can you expect to be happy doing something when you aren't happy in your personal life? So that would be probably my number one recommendation if you're going through burnout, is to optimize your health, your mental health, by either, you know, hiring a coach, a therapist, or just sitting down with someone you love, that you trust, that you can talk to. Your emotional health by doing the things that you love, by taking time to, if you have time and the money, to travel, to go out to eat, to hang out with your friends, you know, do the things that make you feel alive, you know, then your physical health. So getting movement and getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, not having too much caffeine, fueling your body with good foods, all of those things. So that would be my, you know, biggest recommendation for if you have burnout, kind of now what? If you can't just jump into taking time off. And then obviously, if you can take the time off, take the time off and don't feel guilty about it. If you need to step away from your job for a while and look for a new job, do it. If you have the means and you have the ability or the capabilities to do so, don't feel guilty. Don't let guilt stop you from doing that. It's one of the biggest ways you can take care of yourself. Take it from someone who did it. And that's not the answer for everybody, but if that sounds like it's something you're needing and you can do it, do it. So I just want to wrap this video up here with a few reminders for you and kind of sum up everything we talked about today. So first and foremost, if you are feeling burnt out, whether or not you are in healthcare, it is okay. I want you to know it's okay. You don't need to feel any shame or guilt about it. There is nothing that you did wrong that could have prevented the burnout. Who knew the state of the world would have been this, you know, in 2018-19? And there are just so many people that are going through it right now. And so not only is it okay if you're feeling it, you're also not alone. So reach out to somebody, talk to people, and, you know, really, that's another thing, is try to find community with people and, you know, be able to talk openly about the things you're going through. It can help so much just to know that you're not alone, which is why I'm making these videos as well. And then, like I said, probably, I feel like 100 times, but probably not that many, is take care of yourself. You cannot take care of anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. Your family life will struggle, your personal life, your social life, and then obviously your career. If you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot pour from an empty cup. That doesn't mean be selfish. That doesn't mean, you know, become a hermit and shut yourself off from the entire world. It means take care of yourself. It means, especially in healthcare, if you're working and you're trying to take care of other people, you've got to take time to take care of yourself. What kind of example does it set if we don't take care of ourselves, yet we're telling other people they need to take care of themselves? You know what I mean? So take care of yourself. And that leads me into the very last point, is that you only have one life to live, as far as we know. And don't waste your time in this life feeling unhappy, feeling burnt out. If you're feeling burnt out, don't make it worse by shaming yourself. Do what you can to get out of it. Know that there's always another option. You can always choose something else, no matter how stuck you feel. And that's something that I felt. No matter how stuck you feel, you can change it. You have options. You have options. You only have one life to live. Don't waste it being unhappy. Take care of yourself. And remember, you're not alone. Okay? So I think that's all I have to say today. If you have anything else you want me to talk about with this topic, or anything else that came up for you that you want me to talk about, please feel free to leave that in the comments below. I hope this helped, especially for those of you going through burnout. I know what it's like, and it can just feel really sticky. You can feel like you're just never gonna get out of it, and I promise you, you can if you take the steps to take care of yourself and do so. So thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna leave that here, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys.